Do you look down when you're riding your horse? Do you text a lot and like live at the computer? Well, I'm going to tell you a quick fix to solve that, but more importantly, why you don't want to be doing that when you're riding your horse. You know, so many people worry about their horse being in roll with the chin to the chest, but they don't think about what they're doing when they're riding and how often riders put themselves in that same position. And, you know, this is not only hard on your horse, it's hard on your own neck. So let's take a look a little bit at the anatomy. Again, this is from the Skeleton 3D Pro. These guys are awesome in their anatomy. But we're just going to take a look here. And we've got the skull, right? And here's where your first cervical vertebrae meets your head, right? That atlanto-occipital joint. That's where your head, the atlantis, meets the occiput, the occipital joint. And so, you know, like that's like the place right behind the horse's head where the not the pole, because the pole isn't a joint, but behind the pole. So, you know, you've got a pole, and we'll talk about that in a future minute here, but right now we're going to look at the neck. So let's go back and have another look. And here's your cervical vertebrae. Well, let me see if I can, there we go. And you have 7 of them, okay? And they're really, really tiny. And I think that people don't realize how little our cervical vertebrae are and how much we ask of them all the time. You know, when you look at a horse's cervical vertebrae, they're big. They're like, you know, huge bones because they're carrying that 40-pound head at the end of that 3-foot lever arm. So they have to be really big. But because our head is over our pelvis, ours are really small. But we don't want to put so much stress into them. It's really not good for your neck. Okay, so we've got our 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cervical vertebrae. Okay, and then we're just going to look at it from the side a little bit. Let's see if I can get to my next page. There we go. So if we're looking at it more from the side, and this is why it's important, you can see this is your hyoid bone. Now, I talked about the hyoid bone in a previous conversation, and we looked at the horse's hyoid bone. You have a hyoid bone. It's really tiny, and it's sitting up here in your jaw. So there's the hyoid bone, and again, here's your first cervical, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh cervical vertebrae. As you can see, they are not very big, but they have a lot of possibilities of movement, which is what allows us to do so much with our head. But while we're doing that, we want to be so careful not to put too much stress there. If you realize that your head weighs 10 pounds and you put that 10-pound weight forward, you're putting so much stress into your back. And this is why it's really important to think about carrying your head over your pelvis upright where it's designed to be, instead of putting so much stress in the back of your neck and the upper back and the shoulders. You don't want to look like your grandmother when you get older or when you're riding. Okay, so what do we want to do about it? Well, there's a really simple little thing. By the way, here is the example. When I said, you know, riders sometimes ride with their chins really tucked in, they're looking down at their horse. You can see what this is doing to the neck, right? You can see that that's really putting a lot of stress there. And look at this chin. It's tucked right into the chest, just like a horse and roller. So we don't want to be there because that's putting too much stress on our chest. And you can also notice how that's thrown the shoulders back. So as he pulls that chin in, you can even do that just watching this video. If you pull your chin in too hard, it throws your upper body back. So some people say to balance the head, we should pull the chin in. I'm not a big fan of that because you can feel as soon as you do that that it puts a lot of tension between your shoulder blades. I'd like to think of it as balancing the head rather than pulling the chin in. And you can see just when I do that how much tension it creates. So what's another option? Well, here's a simple little fix that you can do. You can just take your hand and make an L and put it so that it's underneath your chin and on your sternum, and just think about keeping that distance of that L of your chin away from the top of your sternum. And that helps you lengthen your neck, bring your head back, because you feel there's no way you can do it if you're tucked in. You can't get that little L in there, right? It's really tight. So if you think, okay, I want to make an L with my fingers, and I just put that and tuck that in, and you can see how that's brought the head up and it's let the shoulders come forward. And so then after you do that, then of course, what you want to do is then ride without that. And so then here you are with your nice balanced head, your neck long, your throat open, just like your horse. So if you're ever thinking about the effect of looking down and texting all the time or riding with your chin tucked, just think about the effect that it's having on your horse and roll cover, and you'll realize that maybe that's not the best thing you want to do when you ride. Just put your little L there, lift the head a little bit, lengthen the back of the neck, and feel how that frees up the shoulders. And always remember to enjoy the ride.